In 1950, there were 16.5 workers in America paying into Social Security for every one retiree collecting from it. The math was almost embarrassingly comfortable. The program had been running for 15 years, the post-war economy was booming, and the worker-to-retiree ratio meant the system generated far more money than it paid out. The surplus piled up. Politicians loved it. Nobody worried. In 2024, that ratio is 2.7 workers for every one retiree. By 2035, the Social Security Administration's own trustees project it will be closer to 2.3. At that point, according to the same trustees report that gets published every year and read by almost nobody, the program's combined trust funds will be depleted. Not struggling, not underfunded, depleted. And when that happens, current law requires automatic benefit cuts of approximately 21% across the board for every recipient immediately with no phase-in period. Here's the thing. This is not a prediction. This is not a political argument. It is the Social Security Administration's own math, published in their annual trustees report, available on their website, written by the people who run the program. They have been publishing versions of this warning for over 2 decades, and almost nobody who is currently between the ages of 25 and 55, the people whose retirement will be most directly shaped by what happens next, has read a single paragraph of it. I'm Susan, and I spend a lot of time reading the documents that government agencies publish and hope nobody actually opens. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly how Social Security's funding mechanism works and why the math stopped working sometime around 1990. I'm going to show you the 3 realistic scenarios for what happens to the program over the next 15 years and what each one means for your personal retirement number. We'll dig into the specific generational math that explains why this crisis is not an accident and who built the system that created it. And I'll give you a framework called the Social Security Stress Test so you can calculate your own retirement plan with and without full benefits, because the gap between those two numbers is something you need to see before you're 62. If you're someone who has been told to just trust that Social Security will be there when you retire, and that nagging doubt has never fully gone away, subscribe and like this video. That doubt is doing the right job. Think of Social Security like a dinner party where the older guests eat first and the younger guests pay the bill. When the party started in 1935, there were so many young guests paying and so few old guests eating that everyone went home full and there was food left over. The problem isn't that the old guests got greedy. The problem is that the guest list changed. People started living longer, so the old guests stayed at the table longer. Birth rates fell, so fewer young guests arrived to keep paying. And then 76 million baby boomers, the largest generation in American history, all started reaching retirement age at the same time, flipping from the paying side of the ledger to the collecting side in a wave that the program's 1935 architects could not have modeled, because the demographic data didn't exist yet. The dinner party math stopped working, and the people running the party kept sending out the same invitations and hoping nobody looked at the check. Let's go back to 1983. That's the last time Congress meaningfully reformed Social Security, and the story of how that happened tells you almost everything about why we're in the current situation. By the early 1980s, the program was genuinely close to insolvency, not 2035 close, but months away close. President Reagan appointed a bipartisan commission led by economist Alan Greenspan to fix it. The Greenspan Commission's solution was a combination of payroll tax increases, a gradual raise of the full retirement age from 65 to 67, and the deliberate accumulation of a massive surplus trust fund that would carry the program through the demographic bulge of the baby boomers. The plan worked technically. The trust fund built up to approximately $2.9 trillion by the early 2020s. Here is the part the Commission's press releases didn't emphasize. The trust fund is not a pile of money sitting in a vault. It is a pile of special issue U.S. Treasury bonds, meaning IOUs from the federal government to itself. The Social Security Trust Fund lent its surplus to the General Treasury, which spent it on everything from defense to highway construction and left behind bonds. When Social Security needs to redeem those bonds to pay benefits, the federal government has to either raise taxes, cut other spending, or borrow the money from somewhere else to honor them. The trust fund is real in a legal sense. It is not real in the way most people picture a savings account. This distinction matters enormously for what happens after 2035. Here's where the math gets punishing. And I want to run 3 scenarios because your retirement plan needs to account for all of them. Scenario 1. Congress does nothing. Under current law, when the trust funds are depleted, projected by the trustees at 2035, Social Security can only pay out what it collects in payroll taxes in real time. In 2035, that's projected to cover about 79% of scheduled benefits. So if you were expecting $2,200 a month, you get $1,738. That 21% cut is automatic, no vote required. It happens by default if Congress fails to act. For someone who planned their retirement budget around their full Social Security projection, a $462 a month shortfall is $5,544 a year. Over a 20-year retirement, that's $110,880 in missing income that you either have to have saved in advance or go without. Scenario 2, Congress raises the payroll tax. The current Social Security payroll tax is 12.4% of wages, split evenly between employer and employee at 6.2% each, on income up to $168,600 as of 2024. One proposed fix is to raise the tax rate and lift the income cap. The Social Security actuaries estimate that an immediate payroll tax increase of about 3.2 percentage points, split between employer and employee, would make the program solvent through the 75-year projection window. That means your share goes from 6.2% to approximately 7.8% of wages. On a $90,000 salary, that's an extra $1,440 out of your paycheck every year. Possible, politically brutal, has not happened in 40 years. Scenario 3, Congress cuts benefits for future retirees while protecting current ones. This is the politically easiest version because the people who vote in the highest numbers, current retirees and near retirees, feel no immediate pain. Benefits get means tested, the retirement age gets pushed higher for younger workers, or the inflation adjustment formula gets quietly weakened. If you're 35 today and the full retirement age gets moved to 70 for your cohort, that's 5 years of benefits you lose compared to what the current schedule shows you. At $2,200 a month, 5 years is $132,000. Gone. Not by accident, by design. Here's the part that makes this worse. The Social Security statement that gets mailed to you or that you can access online at ssa.gov shows your projected monthly benefit at various retirement ages. That number is calculated assuming current law continues unchanged and that you keep earning at your current rate. It does not show you the post-depletion reduced benefit. It does not show you the scenario where Congress raises the retirement age for your birth year. It does not footnote the trustee's report or mention the 2035 projection. It shows you the optimistic number, the number that assumes the problem gets solved by someone, somehow, before it reaches you. You are being handed a retirement planning document built on an assumption that may not hold, and the document does not tell you that assumption exists. Here's who wins from the ambiguity. Politicians on both sides of the aisle benefit from not solving this problem. Republicans don't want to raise taxes, Democrats don't want to cut benefits. The people who would bear the cost of any real fix, younger workers who would pay higher taxes or receive lower benefits, vote at lower rates than the retirees and near retirees who would feel any solution most immediately. So the incentive structure for every sitting politician is identical. Delay, promise, defer. Let the next Congress deal with it. This is not cynicism. This is what the last 40 years of legislative history on Social Security looks like. The Greenspan Commission fixed the 1983 crisis with changes that took until 2030 to fully phase in. The 2035 crisis has been visible since at least 2000. In 2024, it remains unaddressed. The dinner party guests keep eating, the bill keeps growing, and the youngest guests in the room keep getting seated farther and farther from the table. Picture this. You are sitting in a financial planning seminar in 2026. The presenter, let's call him Barry, has a slide on the screen. It says, Social Security will provide approximately 40% of your pre-retirement income. Barry has been giving this seminar for 11 years. His slide has said this for 11 years. Barry is a perfectly decent person. He's not lying. He's using the official projected benefit number from the Social Security Administration, assuming current law, assuming the trust fund gets resolved somehow. What Barry's slide does not have is a second version that says, if Congress does nothing, Social Security will provide approximately 31% of your pre-retirement income starting in 2035. Barry doesn't show that slide. It's not in the seminar template. Nobody asked him to put it there. You go home, you plan for 40%, you retire in 2038, you get 31%. The math doesn't care about Barry's slide. Let me show you two people. Meet Christine and her colleague Ray. Both are 38, both earn $85,000 a year. Both have been told by their company's HR departments that Social Security will replace about 35 to 40% of their pre-retirement income. Christine takes the optimistic number at face value. She plans her retirement assuming she'll receive approximately $2,100 a month from Social Security starting at 67. She targets a personal savings number of $800,000, reasoning that between her portfolio and Social Security, she'll have roughly $5,600 a month in retirement, enough for her lifestyle with a little cushion. Ray does the Social Security stress test, which I'll walk through in a moment, and builds his plan around a conservative scenario where his Social Security benefit is 21% lower than projected, arriving at approximately $1,660 a month. He targets a personal savings number of $1,050,000 to make up the $440 monthly gap plus a buffer. Ray saves an additional $625 a month across his working years compared to Christine, invested in a standard index portfolio. By the time they both reach 67, Ray has $1,100,000 and Christine has $820,000. Congress, in this scenario, does nothing, and the automatic cuts kick in at 79% of scheduled benefits. Christine receives $1,659 from Social Security instead of her projected $2,100. Her total monthly income is $4,819 against a $5,200 retirement budget. She's short $381 a month. That's $4,572 a year. That's a real problem at 67 with no income. Ray receives the same reduced Social Security. His total monthly income is $5,760. He is fine. He is better than fine. He has options. Christine does not. The difference between them is not luck. It is one stress test that Ray ran in 2026 and Christine didn't. The emotional punchline isn't Christine's shortfall. It's that Christine did everything right by every piece of conventional wisdom she was handed. She saved consistently. She contributed to her 401k. She made a retirement plan. She was responsible. And she was handed a planning assumption built on an optimistic scenario that the people who run the program have been quietly flagging as unreliable for 20 years. She didn't fail her retirement. The information environment failed her. Here is your framework. The Social Security stress test. 3 steps. Step 1. Find your projected benefit. Go to ssa.gov, create an account if you don't have one, and pull your Social Security statement. Find the monthly benefit projected at your full retirement age. Write that number down. Step 2. Calculate your stress-tested benefit. Multiply your projected benefit by 0.79. That is your benefit under the automatic cut scenario if Congress does nothing by 2035. Write that number down too. Now you have 2 numbers, your optimistic benefit and your conservative benefit. Step 3. Build your personal savings target for both scenarios. For each benefit number, calculate how much additional monthly income your portfolio needs to generate to fund your retirement budget. Use the 4% rule. Multiply the monthly gap by 12 to get the annual gap, then multiply by 25 to get the portfolio size needed to fill that gap indefinitely. The difference between your savings target under Scenario 1 and Scenario 2 is the number you need to decide how to handle. Some people will decide to save toward the conservative number. Some will decide to bet on a legislative fix. But the decision should be conscious. It should not be made by default because nobody showed you the second column. There are things working in this system's favor that the doom framing misses. Social Security has been reformed before, in 1977 and 1983, and it will almost certainly be reformed again. The political pain of letting 21% automatic cuts hit 70 million recipients simultaneously is enormous enough that some version of a fix is likely. The question is not whether it gets fixed. The question is who bears the cost of the fix, and whether that cost falls on the generation currently working and saving, in the form of higher payroll taxes, a later retirement age, or reduced cost of living adjustments. History suggests the answer is yes, and your retirement plan should account for that possibility rather than assume it away. Here are your 3 takeaways. 1. The Social Security trustee's own report projects trust fund depletion in 2035, triggering automatic benefit cuts of approximately 21% under current law. This is not speculation. It is the program's official math. Go read the 1-page summary on ssa.gov tonight. It takes 8 minutes and it will change how you think about your retirement number. 2. The Social Security benefit estimate on your annual statement assumes current law and does not reflect the post-depletion scenario. Your real planning should include both numbers, the optimistic projection and the 79% stress-tested version, and your savings target should account for the gap. 3. The legislative fix, when it comes, will almost certainly cost the generation currently working. Whether that cost shows up as higher payroll taxes, a higher retirement age, or reduced cost of living adjustments, it represents additional retirement planning uncertainty that a larger personal savings base protects you against. Save more. Not because Social Security is going away, it almost certainly isn't. Save more because the version of it you receive may be meaningfully smaller than the number on your statement. The system is rigged, but it's rigged in a predictable way. The demographic math behind Social Security's funding problem has been known and published for decades. The political incentives that prevent it from being solved have been consistent for just as long. None of this is a surprise to the people who run the program. The surprise is only for the people who trusted the optimistic number on their annual statement without ever looking at the footnotes. Once you understand how the funding mechanism works, what the trustees are actually projecting, and what the realistic range of legislative outcomes looks like, you can build a retirement plan that survives any of them. Lazy investing built more fortune than crypto memes. The people who retire comfortably through uncertain policy environments are not the ones who guessed correctly about what Congress would do. They're the ones who built a personal savings base large enough that the answer didn't matter. Drop a comment and tell me, did you know about the 2035 depletion date before watching this? I want to know how many people this actually reaches.